ahead and begin our time this evening with prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Ever-living God, whose will it is that all should come to know you through your Son, Jesus Christ, inspire our witness to him, that all may know the power of his forgiveness and the hope of his resurrection, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we'd love to see what prompted your participation in this evening's workshop. So if you are not presenting or speaking at the moment, if you could just keep yourself muted, that would be really helpful so that everybody can hear what's being shared at any given time. But if you could just head over to the chat and share with us, how did you learn about this class and what brought you here this evening? So how did you find out about this class and what brought you here this evening? So go ahead and head over to the chat and share that with folks. And as you're doing that, I'm going to share with you this great quote from our friend, the Reverend Sam Wells, from his book, A Nazareth Manifesto. He writes in the introduction to his book, God is with us. These 4 words express the character of God, the identity of Jesus, the work of the Spirit. They are the Christian testimony about the past, the witness to the present, and hope for the future. Each word offers itself as the heart of the gospel. This class this evening is about sharing good news. Fundamental convictions as Christians for us is that God is with us, that no matter what we have done, no matter where we are, no matter how rich or poor, healthy or sick, no matter how good or bad we are, God is with us, that God has come into the world, and that this is good news, that God, the creator of the universe, is here in this world amongst all of us. So thinking of good news, what's good news to you? Head over to the chat and offer it with your friends in the chat over there. What do you experience as good news? We want this class to be as interactive as possible, so use the chat, and we're hoping as much as possible. And we've got a lot of material to cover, so using the chat will be a way for us to make sure that we keep this as interactive as we can. So we'll continue to encourage you throughout the next hour to head over into the chat and continue the conversation there as we work through our material. But thinking about good news, let's answer this question for why Easter, why this particular course this evening? Why are we doing this around Easter? Well, according to Pew Research, 43% of Americans attend church regularly, but 62% of Christians attend Easter services. A Gallup poll is even more dramatic, stating that 30% of Americans attend church, but over 80% celebrate Easter in some way, shape, or form. That's more than twice the number of Americans considering to attend church on Easter Sunday. So that's a lot of folks that are potentially visitors to our congregation this coming Easter. But even more so, as Christians and as Episcopalians, Easter is more than a family holiday. It's the day we believe that over 2 millennia ago, God, through Jesus, in Jesus, defeated death with love and with life, and that this is central to what we believe. So considering this passage in 1 Corinthians centers this message of what Jesus did on that first Easter Sunday in this concept of good news. Since the earliest years of the Christian movement, we as Christians have been convicted in our tradition that Jesus' resurrection is good news. This is central to what evangelism means. Evangelism is the announcement of good news. And central to Christian evangelism is this good news of Jesus. And here's what's fantastic: inviting folks to your church is central to evangelism because every week at your church, this good news is announced during our worship services. When you share with others the goodness of God that you have experienced in your faith community, you are doing the work of evangelism. We're not going to spend time this evening discussing poor forms of evangelism tonight, but rather we'll be talking about forms of evangelism that align with our faith and our particular tradition. So the good news is no one is expecting you to go out and approach strangers and try to coerce them into doing something they don't want to. In fact, our hope this evening is to start with who you know. Who can you invite to participate in hearing the good news of God in your church that is already a part of your life? Not complete strangers, but who are the family and friends that you know that might enjoy visiting church with you on Easter Sunday? From there, if you feel like branching out even further, think about those that maybe you wouldn't consider family or friends, but might be in the neighborhood of acquaintances and friendships that you have. People at work, people that you know their names, you know a little bit about them, and maybe this is an opportunity to invite them to church and through that get to know them even more. And if you're one of those folks that wants to go even further, they're certain that the Spirit is going to open up other opportunities. But we begin the work of evangelism with thinking about who we can invite to hear the good news within our context of our friends and family. Whomever we're inviting to join us, we are going to take 3 steps in inviting folks to join us. The first thing is that you want to have a physical reminder when you invite someone to come join you in your church. You want to be able to hand them something like a flyer or a postcard, something that will remind them of this event that they are going to be attending with you. That piece of paper or whatever it is that you hand over needs to have the address, the time of services, maybe even a map, and probably your website, because in all likelihood they would be apt to check out your website before they actually darken the doors of your church. The next thing is that you want to accompany whoever you invite. Don't invite someone and just hope that they can find their way through the crowds on Sunday morning to you in the pew that you sit, but offer to maybe even pick them up. And if not that, if you're not going to be driving them to the services on Sunday, maybe agree to meet them in the parking lot or by the front doors. But make sure that you agree to participate in this visiting your church with them. That increases the possibility of them actually attending, because it diminishes their sense of being a complete stranger in a new place. So the first thing is make sure you have a physical reminder of some sort to offer folks. Make sure that you accompany them. And then the last thing, make it personal. Share with them what it is that you love about your church, what it means to you, and why you would love it, why it would mean so much to you personally if they were to attend church to you. That personal invitation. Here's something that I love in my life, that I experienced the goodness of God through, and I think you would benefit from this. That kind of an invitation is the kind of invitation that people are most apt to respond to. So we're going to have our first of a few breakout sessions here in a moment. And we want you to think about this part of what it is that you love about your church. What do you love about your church that you would want to share with someone that you could personally invite to your church? As we head into these breakouts, they're going to be about 10 minutes long, and make sure that you leave time for everybody to be able to share in your breakout group. We'll see you back here in about 10 minutes.
Thank you all. And I hope you guys had some great conversation in your breakout rooms about what you love about your church. And, you know, that's kind of the root of this next segment about inviting people to Easter. And, you know, as you guys were in your breakout group, I was kind of thinking, you know, about, it just came to mind a quote from Oscar Wilde's book, The Importance of Being Earnest. And there's There's nothing that annoys me more than not being invited to something, right? Like when you're left out of something really cool that everybody loves, you feel left out. And so in the chat, as you can see on your screen, we have a new question for you. If you guys would mind just typing in a time when you were invited to something new and how that made you feel. That'd be great. And as you guys are doing that, we're going to start talking about our websites. So Easter is one of those times, at least in the church calendar, where our website needs a fresh overhaul, right? We need to prepare our websites to make sure that they're accurate and user friendly and look correct. And one of the very first steps is to update all of your out of date information. Take time to go through your website and make sure that your service times are accurate and correct, that the emails and staff listings are correct, and that your activities and events are all presented and available in the ways you want it. Also, make sure that there's ways for people to contact you. The entire point of a website is to be kind of the middleman, the mediator between you and this other individual, so that you can have a conversation with them eventually, right? It's supposed to get them to a point where you and them can talk to each other. So other aspects about your website that we really need to focus on leading up to Easter is an Easter welcome message. Have something friendly and short. Skimmable is the key to these things, but a couple sentences about the joy of celebrating Easter with you this year. Make sure your Easter service times are right there above the fold as well, outlined specifically for Easter, not necessarily couched in the Holy Week, long train of events, but Easter specifically needs to be pulled out. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be advertising your Monday, Thursday service and Good Friday service, or if you have an Easter vigil on Saturday. By all means, be advertising those on your website, but make sure that Easter is up there at the top. Also, any family or children's activities. Easter egg hunts are one of the greatest secular activities ever, right? Little kids running around a field, grabbing eggs and having fun, throwing them in baskets. It's joy unparalleled, right? And so for your congregation, if you guys are doing an Easter egg hunt, make sure you advertise that and share it with your community and your neighborhood. Another very important part is inviting Easter art. We need to make sure that the website reflects the spirit of Easter, whether it's Easter lilies or stained glass or etc. Yeah. So art to use is please use happy parishioners. We have pictures of our congregations and our parishioners having great times at previous Easters and past Easter celebrations, or on a regular Sunday. In our experience here at the diocese, folks like seeing pictures of people. It makes them connect and feel a human interaction that's going on. And so pictures of people win almost every single time. And so another option is classic art, Easter flowers, stained glass. These are all really generic and broad areas that have a classic feel to them, that fits our stuff. To use sparingly, the Easter bunny, right? Or Easter egg focused art. While we do these things, and sometimes, the Easter bunny will come in after church, or, we'll be doing Easter egg hunts after church. This isn't the reason that we're at church on Easter, right? We're there to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ and new life in the world, right? Another pitfall, for at least for the templates that are available for a lot of art, is overly modern art. Our evangelical brothers and sisters have a completely different style when it comes to graphic design and art than we do. And a lot of the art available online, either template or otherwise, has kind of a modern feel that doesn't it doesn't fit with our culture, our community, right? So just be aware of that when you're looking around for what pictures and graphics to use. Social media. So social media, as we know, is, it's a ridiculously powerful tool when it comes to communications and inviting folks to things. The last I looked, I think there was something like 6 billion people on Facebook and Instagram, or maybe it was 5. I know a billion here, a billion there, but it's a lot of people. And so investing your time into creating posts for social media has value. So a captivating headline, right, is very important. And when I say captivating headline, something like celebrate joy this Easter, all caps, or where does love come from? ? Find out at St. Swithin's on Easter Sunday, right? That's a fun trick to ask a question that they need to answer for themselves, and that gets a person thinking and engaged, right? Be sure that you have clear and concise information about the service and activities. Again, if you're having Easter egg hunt or family activities, make sure that those things are included, not just in one post, but in a series of posts, right? Again, photos, video, or art are important. These platforms run off of the visual media that people post, right? And so it's all about quality photos, video shorts, or classic art. And don't forget to include a call to action. And a call to action can be visit our website to find out more, pre-register for the Easter egg hunt, any of those kinds of things where they can click through to learn more, email us here, whatever, but allow them the opportunity to engage further beyond just the social media post. So before Easter, we need to develop regular invitation posts. I would suggest 3 a week, including your family and children's activities and encouraging your parishioners to share. This should be started by March 15th. I know we're in the middle of Lent and it's not Easter yet, but the folks in our neighborhoods need the time to plan their Easter and to commit to their stuff. So we need to start doing some of these campaigns weeks before Easter shows up for us, right? And so let's get that kind of stuff going by the 15th, or at least that week. So after Easter, share your photos and videos of the service this year. Be sure to be taking beautiful photos. I know one of our congregations is hiring a photographer and a videographer to take special, very high quality photos and videography of their service so that they can share them later to the broader community. The Easter campaign does not end at Easter, right? It's a season. Stretch it out. It's 6 or 7 weeks of Eastertide, right? And so continue to share this Easter message with photos of your Easter celebration and Easter egg hunts and things for 6 or 7 weeks to come. And you guys can plan that out and stretch it out throughout the 6 weeks. Newsletters. I hope that you all have newsletters. And I was very happy to see in the chat that a lot of you found out about this from the diocesan newsletter. That made me personally very happy as the director of communications. So thank you all for reading. And so our newsletters, right? The key point of a newsletter is that it's approaching our current congregation, our current parishioner base, people that are already interested in our church, right? So these people that are already engaged. And so develop a call to action and have these people that are already committed to our congregation invite a friend, right? And equip your audience with the tools to do that. Like Jason said, we need a handout, something to hand somebody and to do the personal invitation. Share some of this messaging that you learn here in this class with your parishioners so that they're equipped to invite a friend to church. And Easter and Holy Week are a unique church experience. It's different than a normal Sunday, and it has something greater to give newcomers as an experience of an Episcopal church, right? And again, share your family and children's activities. Banners, the big sign on the street. It's fairly simple, guys. Like let's get our banners printed and out. We need a catchy message in very large font. And simple, you know. And the key thing to remember here is people are driving by at 50 miles an hour when they're reading this thing. And so you can't have too much information. You need to have, join us for Easter. Here are the service times. That's it. Have Easter art, again, lilies, stained glass windows, the Easter feeling of the art needs to be present. And throughout your campus, on church grounds, when you're welcoming newcomers, we need to make them feel welcome by giving them the opportunity to direct themselves, not have to ask somebody where the bathrooms are or where is the welcome table. Signage throughout your campus is a great way to direct newcomers and create comfort. It also encourages participation, because if I see the welcome table is over here, or newcomers over here, it allows me to freely interact with that without having to feel confused or uneasy about it. And the beautiful thing about these signs is they can be designed to be evergreen. You can use them every single Sunday. And in fact, you should be, because if a new person comes on Easter and they're used to all these signs directing them where to go, they may not remember where the bathrooms were from Easter Sunday the week before. They were dealing with their two little ones who were doing the Easter egg hunt and everything else, right? So continue to use those signs throughout the year and direct folks around your church campus. So print the things that we need to have on paper. I know it's largely a digital world, but we can't get away from those handouts, right? So make sure that your welcome card that you distribute to your parishioners or those that are inviting folks to church has a friendly message, our service information, and again, your children and family activities. And after Easter, we want to make sure that the contact information that we've gathered during our Easter services is responded to in a timely manner. Respond with a friendly message and an invitation to talk one-on-one. Charlotte told me a story about, and Charlotte, maybe you need to chime in here and remind me about which priest was this?
It was Andrew at St. Margaret's in Palm Desert.
Yes. So Andrew offers newcomers the opportunity to text him, and just to shoot him a text, or is it vice versa? Leave your number and I'll shoot you a text.
It is. Part of his announcements are, if you write your number on the welcome card, I will text you on Monday and invite you out to coffee.
Which I think is amazing, because a lot of folks nowadays prefer a text message over a cold call. It allows them to respond in their time. They don't feel intimidated or pressed to commit. It puts the power in their camp, and that's a freeing thing for the visitor, right? And so a text message. And so I want to go back to this, what Jason talked about, the personal, the neighborhood, and the other opportunities. And think about that, of who in your circles are these folks, right? Who is in our personal circle and in our local neighborhood, and what kind of other opportunities are there out there for us to invite folks into church? And that'll lead us into our next breakout session. So who can you invite to church in 10 minutes?
Now that we have thought about inviting everyone to church, now we have to figure out how we engage with them when they get there. Because it's one thing to invite people, it's another thing entirely to create a spirit of belonging. And a large piece of that depends on how we prepare for when they arrive to church on Easter Sunday. So if you would pop into the chat for me a time when you felt welcomed into a new space, where it was, and how did it feel? How did you feel when you had been welcomed into a new space? And where was it? I ask that question because when I picked this section to talk about with all of you about how we engage visitors, I was thinking about this section of scripture from Romans. Welcome one another, therefore, just as Christ has welcomed you, for the glory of God. And I was thinking about that because the point of inviting people to church is to create a space in which they can grow in faith and love and become part of your community in a way that also helps you to grow in faith and love. And so if we hold that Christ-like welcome in the palm of our hands as we look at the ways that we are going to prepare, it can help us to do it in a way that ensures that they want to be part of our community, not just for that day, but possibly in the future as well. And so the three things that I would invite you to consider as you are preparing to engage people who are coming to your church for the first time are your grounds, your team, and your materials. Now, Chris touched a little bit in his topic about some things that you can print and prepare for people as they are going to come onto your grounds for the first time. But knowing your way around is one of the key components to people feeling welcomed on your grounds when they get there. So that means that you have people working a welcome table. It means that you have signs that label bathrooms. It means that there are hearing devices are labeled if you have that as an opportunity for people. Where is your nursery? And what signs are there in your nursery that let parents know how their children will be cared for? Is there a sign-in sheet that tells them to put their phone number down in case a child is upset? Do you cover with them the safety procedures that are part of the nursery care? Some congregations have a little printout that first-time families can take with them when they are leaving to go back to the church so that they can know exactly what their child's experience is going to be like while they are there. Signs of welcome are really important to helping people engage. So in addition to labeling bathrooms and childcare and nursery and all of those things, I encourage you to think what else needs a label within your context. And then from the signs themselves, we need to talk about your team. Because your team is not just your clergy. Your clergy this week, they are spread so thin. They have worked hard all of Lent, helping the congregation to keep a holy space and to be centered and be present. And then they are going into Holy Week, which is just day after day of pouring themselves into the service and preparing bulletins and lighting candles and making sure acolytes have everything they need and thanking their altar guild. Your clergy are doing a lot of things. And so this good and glorious team that I'm talking about here, it's everybody else. Everybody else. It is your church staff, it is your volunteers, it is your ministry leads, it is your ushers, it is the people that go and pick up your donuts, it is your vestry, it is for sure your vestry, and then it is also active ministry participants. One of the key things that you can do is identify people within your congregation that are open and loving and have a spirit of welcome in and of themselves, so that you can say, Charlotte, with your 3 kids that you have, and I notice the way you watch for others, could you watch for new families? And maybe at coffee hour, go over and greet them and let your children play together. I would love to be invited to do something like that. Or perhaps you see a set of seniors in your congregation, and there may be new people that have come to your town that are going to stick their toe in the water for the same time. And as those people come into your church, your seniors I'm thinking of, that get there a little early because perhaps they know that there will be a little bit of seating challenges that day, and they go and they find their space. They are your eyes on the room. They know every new person that has come in, and inviting them to be part of creating welcome and belonging, inviting them to smile and wave at people that they see across the church. These active ministry participants are a key part of your team that generates welcome and engagement on Easter Sunday. After your team, I want you to think about what is it that we do well? What is it that makes Saints Peter's and Paul so special, or St. John's, or All Souls, or St. Bart's? What is it that is distinct to your congregation that you do really well? And what is it in your congregation that you do good, but not excellent, that you could improve on just a little bit to help create engagement and opportunity? This might be providing that you already have a spirit of welcome with children, and you smile and you wave, and giggles and shouts don't bother anybody in it. But do you have worship bags? Are they filled with new crayons? Do they have supplies that will generate actual worship opportunities for children? That might be an easy one to do. Do you have all of the supplies for people who have accessibility needs, but they aren't labeled yet? Could someone take on labeling and placing those in an accessible place for everyone? So for this breakout that we're going into right now, this is your opportunity to be an evangelist for your congregation by naming something that you are already doing really well, and then something that you are doing well but could improve on just a little bit in order to help everybody feel invited, welcome, connected, and engaged on Easter Sunday.
So now we want to talk about the common thing that I hear in conversations is, gosh, somebody came to visit us that Sunday, but then we never saw them again. And so we want to talk with you now about what does it look like to retain visitors? And here's kind of a big question for you to offer up in the chat. How do you build a bridge from welcome to belonging? In your congregation, how do you build that bridge from someone showing up and experiencing welcome in your congregation to becoming a part of your congregation? So take a few moments and open up the chat and offer from your experience in your congregation. What does it look like? Or maybe it's even outside of the church where you've had a moment where you've experienced deep welcome, and that has led to belonging to a new community that either surprised you or you had longed for. And that's what we want to talk about in this next section is how do we move towards the retention of visitors? How do we move from welcome to belonging? We're going to begin this part of the conversation by relying on some research that was conducted by the Springtide Institute. And what they talk about is when we're looking to increase the sense of belonging, there's really 3 stages. Level 1, I am noticed. Level 2, I am named. And level 3, I am known. Now you can go Google Springtide Institute research on this subject matter, and they go into a lengthy study about this, but we're going to just break it down, Springtide's study on this, in just a few simple ways of approaching this, from seeing that first visitor and seeing them become a retained member of your church. So that first one, level 1, the question is really about invitation. When someone is invited to come and join you at something at your church, they have been noticed. You have signaled to them that you see them. But even more so, that when they come and join you at that first thing, and at that first thing, and maybe it's this Easter Sunday that's approaching, they are invited to the next thing. So to think about, well, what's after Easter that we could invite someone to that joins us on Easter Sunday, so that we can say, we see you. We notice you. We'd like you to come and join us to the church. And when you've joined us here at church, we see you, we notice you, and we want you to come back again. Come and join us at the next thing that we're doing. The next level, level 2, is, do you know their names? That's really it's as simple as that. Do we know the names that those that have visited us? Do we remember their names? And when they aren't there at the next Sunday services, or maybe in a month from them, do you let them know that you missed them when they were gone? Did you notice that they weren't there? Now, I'm the first to admit, I am terrible with names. And I try to make sure when I visit each of you in your congregations that I share that with folks, that I'm really bad at names. I never forget a face, but I don't remember names very well. I've never been able to conquer that in all my years working for the church. But I name that so that it's not on that person, it's on me. It's my hang up. It's not them being unnoticed. Hey, Charlotte, I'm so glad you're here this Sunday with us. It is great to meet you. Just so you know, I'm really bad at names. I will not forget your face. So that when Charlie comes back a few Sundays later, Charlie, we've missed you the last few weeks. Or just, hey, it's good to see you again. We missed you the last few weeks. I remember telling you, I'm really bad with names. Can you remind me what your name is? But nonetheless, noticing and then naming people, giving them a sense that they know that their presence is missed when they are not there. Now, the third thing is, have they made relationships with multiple members? When someone really gets connected to a congregation, it's because they don't know just the person that invited them to join them at that church, but they are beginning to build bridges beyond that initial relationship with other people as that congregation and its leadership gets to know them and the things that they celebrate, that they hope for, that they long for, or maybe even some of their hurts or what their gifts and passions are. They're getting connected to ministries and opportunities within the congregation that match up to who they are. And through that, getting to have more relationship connections in the congregation. So let's start breaking this down into some practical steps for you to be taking. The first is in your follow-up with visitors. After Easter Sunday, your follow-up needs to, first of all, be prompt. You want this to be a weeks later, month later. As soon as you reasonably can, promptly follow up with each of your visitors and follow up with them in an appropriate way. Chris and Charlotte were sharing earlier the story from St. Margaret's out in Palm Desert, where Father Andrew actually says, give us your information and I'll text you this week, recognizing that a lot of people feel more comfortable with a text from somebody than maybe a phone call or an in-person visit. So be clear with your visitors what way they would like to be followed up with, and then respect that. The third thing is pay attention to interest. As you talk to people after the service, or as you talk to them when you follow up with them, what are the things that they are interested in? Are they concerned about the goodwill and the civic life around the church? And is there a way to connect that individual with the social justice ministries or service ministries of your congregation? Are they really into intellectual ideas and philosophical concepts and maybe some deep study and theological conversations where they would be a good match? Are they someone with family members, a large family, young children or teenagers or seniors, and there might be an opportunity to connect them with people that are involved in that part of your congregation? But pay attention to these three things as you consider your follow-up. Make sure that it's timely, make sure that it's appropriate to the visitor and how they would like to be communicated with, and pay attention to where there are opportunities to connect the individual's interests to the life of your congregation. So now let's talk about how we invite folks to the next event.
Which is my turn. And in the chat, both Chris and I chimed in with a simple way that we both end up feeling like we belong. And that is those family things, those things. And when I use family, I don't mean that I'm not talking about parents and children. I'm talking about the things that make you feel as though you are a member of a family. I love to be invited to help with something that looks like a chore. Let me help you roll the tables in, invite Chris to do the dishes. I'll carry the food out from the church that's been collected for the food pantry, because when you invite me to do one of those things, I am no longer a guest, I belong. And that moment is the moment that I know that I am valued, like just for who I am as a person. So I always encourage you to pick those simple things that might seem like a chore and you think, oh, we don't want to ask the new person to do that. No, ask them to do it. Go with them. Don't let them get lost on their way to put the chairs away, but invite them to help with those simple things too. And continuing with our conversation about what it is that you do well and what it is that you could even do just a hair better, what are you going to invite them to next? Because what I listed on here, I put 4 ideas on here. One of them is Pentecost. Do you have a big Pentecost celebration at your church? Is the music extra special? Does everybody show up wearing red? Is there a barbecue after church? Is that a day that is a big feast day for your congregation? It's a great invite to invite somebody back to, especially if you are thinking about young families. Because Susan Holbert, who is a member at St. Paul's Cathedral, said something to me 10 years ago that has always stuck to me about spring. And she said that spring is the baton march to the finish for families. because they are just one thing after the next all spring long. And so it's not until those things start to wrap up that families have enough breathing room to consider what it is that they want to be engaged in that is new, because they already have so much that they are engaged with now. So Pentecost to become a really logical invitation. It is a low threshold for them to be invited to. Also, when you are considering families, Vacation Bible School. Vacation Bible School is a great entryway, not just for the people that come on Easter, but if you put a banner up outside of your church to engage your local community as well. A lot of our working families struggle in the summer because they are used to having their kids go to school. And so then from 9 to 3 every day, they don't have childcare anymore. And Vacation Bible School is a fun and safe space that they know their children can go. And as a added bonus, they get to learn about Jesus and learn new songs and make awesome art. But for families, a lot of it is this a place where my child will be safe? And is it a place where they will know that they are loved? And in those moments where we provide safety and love to children, what we are showing them is God's love in that moment. So if you are doing Vacation Bible School, that's a great one to invite to on Easter. Beyond that, you want to think about fall. In the summer, everybody's taking a big break. What does your Welcome Back Sunday look like? What is the opportunity to invite people to that? And even looking all the way forward to Christmas, I know that feels really far away, but if you can say to people, hey, we have a fabulous handbell choir that performs at Lessons and Carols. Can you count to 4? Do you like to play the handbells? Would love to have you join us. Or, we are always looking for people to help decorate the church. Do you have a green thumb? Would you want to help make wreaths or hang ribbons? Those are great ways to invite people because, again, it gives them, when people have something to do with their hands, then they feel less awkward about their physical presence in the space. It creates room for them to be able to talk and engage with the people that are there. So now you have invited them to something. But also we want to think about what do they need next? Because on a visitor's card, I'm betting that a fair number of you have a visitor's card that has a whole series of check boxes on it. If you are interested in service ministry, check here. If you want children's ministry, check here. If you want the choir, check here. And so then perhaps your process is that the parish secretary takes all that information and sends it off to the ministry heads, who then send an email to the person and invite them to come to the next meeting. The challenge in that, it's a good process, but the challenge in that is that all of those email addresses are unknown and unfamiliar to the people. And so in that instance, they may not get it. It could go to their spam. They might not identify it as belonging to the church. And so what becomes really important is if you are in a conversation with someone at coffee hour or before church on Easter Sunday, and they say, I am just looking for a place that I can serve, where I can make a difference in the world, where I can be God's hands and feet. Then it's like, oh, you know who's here today? I would love to introduce you to the head of our service ministry team, or to Susie, who goes every Tuesday to the food packing event. A warm handoff, an opportunity for them to automatically have a name of someone that they can know who participates in this ministry that interests them is really important. And then if you have the bandwidth, or you can do the pre-work, saying to Susie, who every week volunteers at the food pantry, hey, Susie, could you send a note to this person and say, oh, it was so nice meeting you. Would love for you to come this Tuesday. I get there at 10:30 a.m. That warm handoff makes a huge difference in translating from inviting, engaging to belonging. And then also, don't call them on Easter Monday because your clergy are tired. But please, if you have engaged with some new visitors, please send them an email. Tell them who you met and what you know about them, so that then when they have had the opportunity to take a deep breath, they can also connect with them.
Our next offering is edsd.org/invite. This is where tomorrow you'll be able to find the complete recording of this session. So if you need to go back and check on things, or re-listen to some of the brilliant things that Charlotte and Jason have shared, maybe you can skip over my parts. And you can find it here, but this also has a lot of resources for you guys to engage with, templates and video guides and other things. And so So check this out, and it's available to you. And last but not least, I know most of you are already reading the EDSD newsletter every single week, but this is the best way to stay informed and engaged with the things happening around the diocese. It also always has lots of tools and opportunities for you guys to grow your ministries. So,
and we have even more surprises for you after Easter. So if you're not subscribed, get on the newsletter because you'll want to see what we have to share with you after Easter Sunday.
Is the Easter Bunny going to deliver us something?
No, Jen.
Sorry.
No, it's not going to happen.
Not that fun and silly. But with that, we should probably close with prayer. Thank you to all of you for doing this. Chris and Charlotte, thank you for leading us this evening. And thanks to EFM that's here this evening and as a group. And I think we've got folks from Saints Peter and Paul that are here as a group. So grateful for all of you that joined us this evening. We hope that when you go away from this evening, you will share this with somebody else. Tell them, hey, I went to EDSD's Easter invitation. Here's what I learned. Send them to the invite page so that they can check out the materials too. And as many folks in our congregations as possible are ready to invite our communities to come celebrate Christ's resurrection with us. And with that, let us close with prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Lord Jesus Christ, you stretched out your arms of love on the hard wood of the cross that everyone might come within the reach of your saving embrace. So clothe us in your spirit that we, reaching forth our hands in love, may bring those who do not know you to the knowledge and love of you for the honor of your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
you.
Thank you, friends.
Wonderful, you guys. Thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.